This is John Davidson, the VIP coach, and I appreciate the opportunity to speak with you today. I wanted to speak with you about a fundamental model that I have been working on over the last, I've spent the span of my 20-year career coaching and developing, influencing entrepreneurs and executives in being able to create more effectively what it is that they want, and to build businesses that are highly productive and profitable, efficient, businesses that are sustainable, and to be able to take their most important ideas out into a marketplace and be able to use those ideas to create massive value for other individuals who experience what they put together, create rich client experiences. So I get to do this with them as a wingman, as a secret weapon, riding sidecar, and I get to witness some amazing, astounding creations. I get to see parents becoming better parents. I get to see husbands and wives becoming better wives and improving their relationships. I see that these people are opening themselves to greater and greater context going on around them that brings them more close to what they're really doing with their spirit and their work. I get them to think about what they're going to bring into being and organizing their life around the framework of what really does matter to them. And things really do get simple. Things get very simple. They start to put more intentional thought into what they want to create. And it's interesting, when you start to think that way, when you begin to orient yourself creatively, it's interesting how you spend your time. And I think this piece, time, becomes a very important piece in human endeavor, human change. Time is such a fascinating quality to me. What is time? Time, is it a mental construct? Is time something that we construct in our heads? Do we construct something of the world to try to avoid being controlled by it? You hear the chant constantly, I need to use my time, I need to manage my time better. I could use my time in more effective ways, but there's a really cosmic joke that happens with all this. There's an assumption that we're going to become more freed up later than we are now. And the funny thing is, to me, the joke in all of this is that no one is ever any less busy later than they are now. You see, because when you set upon a path of learning and you're creating things that matter, when you immerse in the things that you're creating, guess what? You get really good at them. And when you're in an entrepreneurial role and you're conserving the life of a creator, what coordinates is expansion. What coordinates is growth. What coordinates is a marketplace, a community where you go out and you bring gifts and you bring personal opportunities, aspirations, things that you can do within your own potential, as well as rounding up other people's potential to depend on those gifts to bring something great into the world, right? That's what a team does. A team depends on one another in their own unique abilities or personal gifts to together aggregate. Someone has to aggregate that towards some larger cause than each can do themselves. And so that is an interesting lens as we look at the lens of creating within the context of time and our use of time and what is time. Because you can make choices about what you're going to do with the time that you have. And if you make those choices effectively, some of those choices affect the way things can play out downrange. Now, it may not mean that you get any less busy later, but if you delegate something, let's say, that's something later on that you could depend on someone else to do, and then you're able to spend your time on activities that you have more discretionary ability with. Is there a relationship between money and earning power and time? I think there is. Because to me, as an entrepreneur, when you're earning in a marketplace and you're getting a reward for the time you invest, you go out in the marketplace, you create value for someone, what you're doing is you're getting more and more time available to be discretionary. Because as you probably noticed that the more discretionary that you become is according to how much money you've got in the bank. The reason why we love or hunger for financial independence is that by having a sum of money socked away or having assets, it allows us more discretionary freedom over where we choose to spend our time, who we choose to spend our time with. So you can tell how wealthy you are by looking at how much time you could spend without working. And so can you continue making income without effort? That would be passive income. And there are things that you can do to set that up. But it starts with active earning. And so you're probably, if you're listening to me, you're doing a little bit of both, right? You have an active earning source of income. either a job, a career, a business, a vehicle to do that, a trade, a skill if you're self-employed. And then you go out in the marketplace and you bring your ideas, you entrance a customer into something that's essential to them. You do it over and over again. You repeat the model. Once it becomes profitable, you right-size the team to be able to do it. You try to keep your overhead at a controlled level so you can make the margins that you need. And hopefully you get paid on time for the good things that you do. And given that you get paid on time and given that you have the profits that you need and given that you can do it with the amount of people that you've got, you create a blueprint for an insanely cool business. But not every business happens this way. Not every business is able to spend the time on the right things, get the right people in place so that they can get freed up and the entrepreneur gets to really enjoy his sense of purpose and contribution to the world and be able to create a life plan. But the word I like is access. So how are we spending our time now to get access to 4 design elements? And I think these 4 design elements are the centerpiece of what my coaching is truly about improving with people. And they are 4 simple design elements. So let me go into them with you because there's a quadrant here. The first one is being. These are in no order, by the way. And how you mix these up is very significant. The second one is creating. The third one is relating. And the fourth one is earning. And I've seen different arrangements in all of these that have an interesting effect on the outcome. So, for example, if you start with being, listening, we all have this sense at some level to be quiet, to stop, to get off the carnival, to step off the train. Hey, life, stop the merry-go-round, I want to get off. Is we all at some level would like to step away and just quiet things down a while so we have time to think. We have time for reflection. So today, because we live in a world of fast-paced communication, we live in a world of interconnectedness, we're pretty much on all the time. And our brains weren't made for this onness all the time. So taking a place of rest in the middle of things can dramatically affect the way we play the moments downrange. Right? When we go into situations more relaxed, we go into situations more mindful, we go into situations with greater thoughtfulness and preparation, or we're just basically more present and alert and aware in those situations, we're going to change the potential outcome of those situations. But what gets us to do that? Slowing down. What gets us to slow down? Making a fundamental choice to slow down. It's not like we're going to have the time to slow down. There is no time other than 24 hours a day, 168 hours a week. That's what we all have. We're all connected at the hip. So you can't change the way time occurs. It's like a wave at the beach. It comes, it goes right through you. It's just doing what it does. It's the natural order of life, right? Time is just time. It's going to express that which is expressed. Sometimes it's coordinated with your intention, and it's what you expect, and sometimes it's not. It's very messy therapy. 50% of the time it works, 50% of the time it doesn't. There's no way to predict it. There's no way to be a pessimist or an optimist about the way things are going to play out. Ultimately, you will never know. It's just a mystery. So we take this meaningful leap into the future. We take this leap into the mystery. We take our skills, we take our intentions, we take our choices, and yet we meet life where life is. Sometimes it's a wild card. Sometimes it presents itself to be something totally different. You're at work and in the afternoon you get a call and your friend just committed suicide. Or you just were served divorce papers and never expected it. We all have suddenness. We all have things that occur that are not in the cards, that we were not expecting. And life has a way of intercepting, of causing us these kinds of arrivals. It's the way of things. And so we evolve through time, through experiences. Either we experience them consciously or not. And the way we process our experiences is by how we pay attention to them. And if we inherit and incorporate our experiences, we can be more constructive with what presents itself. What was produced yesterday can be construction for what you're about to do intentionally. So yes, there are things that are coming and going. But we get so fixated on what we anticipate and what we expect that we disturb ourselves in comparing what we get to what we think. And what we think is not necessarily what we expect or what we get from what we get. They don't correlate. We'd love to feel like we're masters of our future. We'd love to have control. Isn't that great? It makes us feel like we can survive the present moment, thinking that we have some control over the way the future is going to play things out. But there is no room for always. Everything must change. We live in a world of flux. We live in a world of constant flowing, of things ending, things beginning, and then there's something neutral in between. And they all are occurring at the same time. Death, beginning, and continuity. They're all qualities that live in time. So the being that we are is being in the world. The quality of listening and the quality of attention that we have around us is our quality of being. Our internal state to access and cultivate an inner state, an inner peace, an inner joy is access to the choice to be happy. Happiness is a choice. You can go to a poor neighborhood and find kids playing with one shoe and a ball, and they look happy. Versus a person who comes from a first world economy, and they may not be happy at all, and they have everything. So contentment, to me, comes from something that we have in us to offer life. The contentment's already there. It's an invisible wholeness that's already installed. We just turn towards something else. And we negate it, and instead of looking toward it because we don't think it would be enough, is we look for something to mask it and mask our longing for the connection to this. The connection to possibilities, the connection to meaning, the connection to inspiration, the connection to the radicalized moment, the moment that is in the business of creating life. Even though we may push it, intend it, want it, create it, and all that, life is in the business of creating life. So as much as we think we can will the future, we can set an intention, but then we have to be wisely innocent about what it is that's here. And wise innocence is making room for the mystery. And the mystery has a gift. It's called hope. Now, why would the mystery have hope? Wouldn't it be uncertainty? Wouldn't that scare me? It has hope because in any moment, anything can occur. See, we forget that at any moment anything can occur. And if we subscribe to positive thinking, it means that we're trying to impose our need to survive the moment by positively lying to ourselves. I said anything. That means death, disappearance. It could be something beautiful. It could be something hostile. The reality is, the truth, the eternal truth is everything is waiting for you. Everything the future needs is being given to you in this moment. But you don't want to trust that because it has to play on your side. It has to come in at your level. It has to be on your menu. It has to be made for your preferences. Life was meant for you, but it's not. And the reason why you think you have to play it that way is that you think that it's all about responding better to the circumstances. But that doesn't do anything for you. All that does is just cause you to have a better attitude. You know, as a species, we're pretty obnoxious. I have some biases about this. I think we're pretty lazy as a species. But what we can do for ourselves, what we can do for each other, is to find what we love. And when we find what we love, it's pretty simple. We just love something to create it. We come into the world, we get exposed to various aspects, things, studies, opportunities, people. We get into a world where there's tons of stimulus and subject matter that is in orbit around us. And as we relate with the world, we accumulate a sense of, oh my gosh, I'm being touched or moved by something. Wow, I'm being changed by something. And those things cause us to reflect. Reflect on what matters. Reflect on what we want. Reflect on what we like, what we don't like. Reflect on what we desire to create. And then at some level, either in our early life or halfway through, we start kind of putting ourselves into more of, oh my gosh, life is short. The brevity of life says time is a gift. People around me are starting to die. I'm not immortal anymore. How do I want to spend this remaining time left? How am I going to play the home stretch? And then we get a second wind, and then we start reminding ourselves that we need to choose. We say, let's choose it. Let's choose what I want to focus my attention on. Because if I'm going to spend my time here, I want to spend my time on things that I love. Creating starts with love. Creating something, bringing it into being because you love it enough to cause it to exist. Creating is one of the greatest access points, the greatest method to flourish in human behavior. Some of the best human behavior to build and create happens when we're using the creative process. So what's the relationship between being and creating? They very much are interrelated, because you can't really have one without the other. If your quality of being isn't there, then you're not paying attention to the subject matter that's in your current reality. You're out of touch. You can walk right into a room and totally miss an opportunity that might be very correlative with something that matters to you, or something you never even were adjacent to. Something just bumps into you. We've all had that. We've all had breakthroughs, moments of inspiration, moments of things that we didn't see before. We go to a movie and it connects us to something that we've been thinking about, or we get a call from a friend. Strange occurrences seem coincidental. Synchronicities begin to happen when we start to become enlightened that maybe the things that are beginning to occur around us are speaking to us. Maybe the data that we're analyzing and what we're looking at, or the books we're reading, they're speaking to each other. I sound weird, don't I? But I don't, because you've experienced this. There's no way to explain it. That's right, because it's not explainable. It's something that you feel. It's something that you are connected to at a deeper level, a somatic level, an ontological level, a level of being in it, a level of sensitivity where you can sense emerging fields. You can sense something that's ready to begin. You can sense the genesis of something ready to take off. How do you know? You just do. It's a felt sense. It's an inner knowing. It's something that comes to the surface. It's a wider peripheral listening that you have installed. It's beyond your five senses. It's empathic. You can find it when you're connecting with others in their world. I found it with my daughter when she told me that there was a purple dragon in the closet. We were having a bedtime talk one night, and my 10-year-old Hannah told me that there was a purple dragon in the closet. Can I just tell you how my voice of judgment wanted to cook that idea? I wanted to tell her, no way, what are you talking about? I wanted to be the know-it-all. But I stayed in her world. It was real for her. So I asked him, what do you want to eat? He said his name was Elmer. And she told me that we had to go to the refrigerator and get something. The whole time I'm talking myself out of this. But I'm moving into her world. And out of that, we created Elmer together. And every night we can talk about Elmer and what he does and his 3 wishes and his little friends and all that, because we created an image, a world. A world. A world that's important to her. Where did that come from? Well, do I say it came from God? No. Maybe not. But it came out of the space that we made for something new to come. Yeah? Because creations come out of that kind of letting go, that kind of being moved and touched by something other than us, by being reverent to something different that allows us to sort of sense what it is and bring it forth and expand it and be able to work it through our own listening, having a softer edge to it, by meeting it, by pushing away nothing and welcoming everything. Isn't this what openness is about? Isn't this what our quality of being can cultivate? A being in the world without pushing against it, without agonizing over what's here, but meeting it? We can do that. I did that when my friend, 48 years old, I heard that he had committed suicide. Yeah. Can you believe that? A friend of mine, all his life, I knew him since I was 15 years old. He decided to take his life one afternoon. Didn't even call me. Left his wife and 3 kids behind. And I can't tell you the kind of difficulty that this presented to me. Trying to understand it, trying to get away from the confusion. But what I felt all the whole time was that I could stay with what was happening. I didn't know how, but I fundamentally chose to do that and to stay directly toward the storm and to learn from it and make it my teacher. And I thought, why not? I could go in and become an irritated guy and ventilate it out and channel it to other people and tick them off and try to let them know how much pain I felt and be the victim. Or I could meet it and make pain the teacher and turn toward it and see what's there. And boy, was there wisdom there. There was more there for me than I ever knew that I had in me. There was something in between me and it that informed me, that gave me a wiser listening, a relaxed attention to work with the suicide that my friend had committed. He decided to take his own life. A person that committed himself to telling me that he never would ever think of that, no matter what, no matter how hard it would get, no matter how big or hard the obstacle would be. He'd never do it. And I got that phone call. Nothing is always. So by being in the world, it gives you access to emerging things, things that maybe have connections to other things. So you can integrate the the quality of the elements in your life. They're design elements. And out of that you can create. Or you can create out of loving something that does not exist yet, like an artist, and bring it into the world through action. Set a goal. Look at the current reality that it's in. Build a bridge. Take action. Foster a discipline. Practice what it takes to build capacity to bring that into being. You want to learn how to play piano? Then desire to play piano. Make a choice and just start. Look at where you are with it now, and then start taking action toward what you want to create so that you deliver to yourself the vision of the pianist and the ability to play that you want. Follow your aspirations. It's a law of spiritual economics to do that, to stay in the lanes of what really matters to us. That doesn't suggest that we control life. That doesn't suggest that I have to raise my human potential. That doesn't suggest that I have to draw upon superhero powers in me because I'm not powerful enough. It doesn't mean I have to be subscribing to self-improvement. It doesn't mean that I have to propagandize or convince myself that I'm more than I am. The reality is it's not about me. It's about something I really care about. It's about separating myself from what life is teaching me. It's about witnessing and observing. It's about third-person perspectives and fourth-person perspectives and living there. It's not about I and me. It's not about even living with it. It's not about even that of being objective. It's more than that. It's about the mythology that life presents to us every moment. It's about the emerging story and narrative of what's beginning to happen. It's about setting foot into that territory and trusting what's there so that you know the path by walking with unmediated faith in open heart and open will. It's about letting something be crystallized rather than crystallizing it. It's about having respect for all things, that nature's ways are good, and that we live in a world that is friendly. And if we did, we'd open ourselves to being loving beings. And if we connected that way, we would treat people with legitimacy and acceptance. And if we did, they would emerge feeling safe and tell us things that would make us feel terrific, that we could make a difference. And when we do, we recognize our gifts. And when we're gifted to be gifted, we find domains in which we can apply those gifts. And we don't have to make a career out of those gifts. There's plenty of opportunities to put those gifts. We just need to turn our heads around and look at what other people are seeing in us and help other people see what's really in them. And that's our quality of relating in the world, our ability to understand the other behind the words they tell us, to be able to sincerely open our heart and validate and help them appear. That's what we do when we help the world. When we make a difference, we help others appear. And when we do, we appear. We help other people appear. That's what part of your being is really here to do, is the nature of compassion. And that thing that you have in you that you can't not do by helping other people suffer less. That means helping other people appear in their grace. Helping other people see the light in them. Pointing out those qualities in them by saying, Namaste, Tashi Delek, I see the light. I see the divinity in you. And there's only one way I could, which is to see the divinity in me. Because there's no way we can know our true selves without being seen, without being related with. This is when Bill Gates said, let's put a computer in every household. He saw other people using that. It was a vision. This is when Steve Jobs said, I want to make sure everybody gets the world-class technology at their fingertips, nothing less, something really cool, something they don't know they need that they'll stumble upon, that they become dependent on to make their lives better, to communicate better, to connect the world better. There was a great nobility behind the iPad, behind the iPhone, and that's the good quality of it, is that we can connect each other on wider distances, which is very good. These things can distract us too, so our quality of being becomes important for reflection, to be able to step back and look at what our lives mean and what other people mean to us. Our quality of relating always depends on the interior condition of us as an intervener. See, we're focused on results. We know we need to set goals and create them. That's what we're supposed to do, right? Set an outcome and then take an action to create it. But it's not just about goals, right? That's not the thing that really does it for us. That doesn't encompass the fullness of who we really are and the fullness of our potential. Sure, we become someone by creating goals. It's all good. Rather, it's not about the process either. That how we go about creating those goals may require some outside tools or some new knowledge, or we may just accumulate new levels of learning through the process of making mistakes. We fail our way to a goal. We work on actions that we propose. We take the action. Some work, some don't. And then we make strategic choices out of those actions in terms of what they're producing. We use the feedback for reflection. And we construct newly modified plans out of that. All good. All a good learning process. But I think what we often overlook is the source level, the inner place from which we operate. In other words, from where does our listening and attention come from? Where do we draw forth from that place within us? And I think it's a certain quality of action. It's a quality of foundational spirit, the nature of us to be good. It is the nature of us to create value for others. It is the nature of us to do things that make a difference just for the joy of it. I mean, if I think about what really are the most rewarding moments of my life and the life I hear of others, it's when they've made a difference for another person. And they've made an impact. And even better when they make an impact being more of themselves, not someone that they're not. But to do what naturally they're gifted at doing and then do a lot of it and get really good at it. And that doesn't need any determination. It just needs surrender and commitment and the willingness to try. And then as they put their gifts into the benefits of others, here we have a uniqueness in terms of what you are, what you stand for, what your DNA is saying for you to do in the world, that what your strengths are is what resonates with you. Strength is resonance. It's not just about being superior to skill. It's about finding what you love, and what that says to you is your DNA talking to you and committing yourself to doing it by choosing it. Choosing means not doing something else, but doing that. Creating out of the being that you are. Being more of yourself and being competitive in a business where you get to connect with urges that are dynamic, that matter to you. And you get to go out into the business world, and as you do that by bringing a team together to create that, putting systems and plans together that they can co-create with you on, measuring those changes, there's a cycle of learning that happens from taking action that you guys learn as you go. There are no experts in the world. No one knows what they're really doing because there is no such thing as always. Everything we think, everything we know, we can't reduce the current moment down to what that is. The only moment that is valid is it's validated by the moment in which you're living in it. Right? We don't need to reduce things that we know to the moment that we're living. What I mean by that is that we can experience life more directly by cultivating an inner state of being aware, of being mindful, of eating mindfully, walking mindfully, listening to this audio mindfully, by participating in our life. I heard a documentary on Octavio Paz, the Nobel Prize winner poet from Mexico from 1998. And he said, "I'm making so much effort to live outside my life. Why do I make so much effort to live outside my life?" And he said when he found poetry as a practice, he could live in the instant. He could live in the instance of life, which means to live in the life that's here. There's a legitimacy that you conserve to living the life that the life is going to create for you. You don't call it going with the flow because we're not governing our choices by our circumstances, mind you. We're governing our choices out of our values, things that we know matter, but we have to know the limits of our intentions, that we don't expect something from what we intend. We intend, we go with it, we take an action, we construct our motivation as such, and then we listen and we bring our attention fully to the surface to meet life as to where it is. And that may not be coordinated with what we intend, but it allows us a reception of what's here, what's now, at different levels. We can be with what is. We can be with what others see other than us. We can honor differences. We can integrate what's ready to emerge. We can sense the way things are coming together and use that as constructive content from which we can coordinate our intentions more finely, more clearly, more precisely, with greater desire, with greater meaning. We can evolve and we can create at once because creating and living is the same. If we forget how to live while we create, then we're not really living. Then we're just going somewhere, but we're not rewarding ourselves with the journey, the process. Life is not just an itinerary that we make up. We would miss out and ignore a bunch of great experiences if that were so. I mean, how many opportunities have you had where you've walked in and nothing went as expected, but when you walked out, you were totally rewarded with something different? We've all had that. We've all had those serendipitous moments that seemed to visit us like uninvited guests, and somehow they were unexpected perfection. How is that? How does that connect? How could it be that this experience I'm having is connected some way to a future destination that knows it needs this now to come into reality? How do I recognize, where do I put the idea that, or the fact that what I'm carrying in terms of what I know or what I'm currently learning is needed by someone else downrange? Can I trust that with unmediated faith? So what is the relationship? What's the mixture between being and creating and relating and earning? I know some that are being first. Then they're creating out of being, their quality of being. They get quiet. They go to places of stillness. They contemplate what they want. And then they create out of it. And out of that, they create value for others and they earn. And out of that earning, they relate more with others because they can pick and choose the relationships that they want to create. Or I know others that go out into the world and they're creating first, and then they create value for others and they earn. And that earning buys them time with their money so they can be, and they can have more discretionary decisions, and they can relate with who they want. Or I know ones that are relating and connecting with others and being moved and changed at the level of being. And out of that being, they choose to co-create something. And out of that, they choose to create an organization. And out of that, they choose to relate more with people that they love. We can mix these in every way. Be, create, relate, and earn. So, what are you doing with the life that you've been given? What are you doing with this wild and crazy life that you've been given and this spirit that you have? You don't want to invest it in a compromise, right? What about the adventure? What about the ability to explore? What about the ability to discover something new? We can discover new things because we're open to the experiences without the outcome that we're attached to. We can see things without criticism and judgment because we're in a state of awareness. We can regulate our habituated judgment and discern more clearly what is really going on. We can see more accurately in our perceptions without reducing things to what we know, but to see outside what we know, to see things that may not confirm what we know, that may not have cognitive reflexes with what we know, so we can see more fully. And with that, we can expand our ability to be sensitive to other things other than the way we expect them to look. We can reduce our anticipation. We can lower our expectations, not our standards, but we can live by the moment as if it were an invited guest. We can be that way. There is nothing to be. It's to be by starting with nothing. To be you. What does to be you mean? It means to be nothing. To be ordinary, to be able to live in the world without the fantasy to be special in it. You're special as you already are. What do you need to be doing to define how special you are? And who but a person that would need to seem so special is someone who isn't. You don't need to hide your unwanted beliefs in the masks that you wear. Take your masks off. Let your assumptions go so the light can get in. Take your masks off so your cynicism can release your vulnerability to come out and make emotional intimacy. Let go of all the entertaining and the entertainment because you're just masking the longing for connection. That's right. And to earn is to build a robust business, a business that provides honest value and honest help, that generates the right people, converts them into great clients, delivers an optimal experience, and retains them because we're able to help them create their dreams, to enhance their lives. It's not about the profits. There's multiple bottom lines. Business today is about creating a non-violating human business. It's about bringing the humanity back to business. People buy story. People buy the experience of being able to tap into more of a direct correlation or a coordination with being soulful. Soulful. And that means creating what matters to us, choosing from places that are rooted in what matters to us, from the way the world changes and inspires us. So that's what brings out our very best. That's what brings out our best nature, our best expression, is accessing that at any moment by having a place to go, knowing what matters, being more deeply connected to what's emerging, what's connecting with us now. Our quality of awareness, we base that as a fundamental rootedness in which we create from. The origins of our behavior is through the coordinations we make by being influenced by the world. It's relationship that is the organizing force. So we create, we relate, and we earn. And these are the 4 design elements that I love to coach on. Is what can I do to increase the quality of your creative process, to help you bring into being more of what matters? How can we turn that as the centerpiece into a business where you individually and as a team create more of what matters as a business? You owe the world your happiness. You owe the world the need to be happy and do things on behalf of what matters to you. It's not about putting yourself first. It's not about being selfish. It's about listening to what really is important. And that itself will bring out the very best you. And people want that. They want that part of you. They want you to turn in the direction of goodness and where you want to expand it. They want you to listen to your inner wisdom because it's naturally giving. It's not about you playing Mr. Nice Guy because you think you're a jerk. It's not about you being phony and counterfeit with other people to offset your unwanted beliefs. Let go of your identity. Get rid of your ideals. Focus on creating. Focus on the quality of being in the world. Focus on earning honestly by you helping the world with something valuable, putting it in the center of a business that allows you to earn other than your own effort, a business, getting it done through other people, taking a position of leadership, helping other people create their dreams inside the organization, get what they want, developing a vehicle for them to do that, and then relating. It's a quality of our relationships that really bring us to our best, our very best expression. To let the other people in our lives appear. That is our work. Help them appear in their true essence. To point out their authentic ability, to point out what is special about them, their fingerprint, their voice. It's about them. It's about helping, bringing them into the world. Me and we, me and we, me and we. You have to have a time and place for you, of course. It all starts with you in some way. If there wasn't a you, there wouldn't be a place to bring it into happening. That's important. But to understand your task, to understand why, to get what the context is that calls you, that brings you forward into what you need to do, it's not you. It's that. It's the other. It's the world. It's what context defines the features of your creative process. It's the calling. It's something out there that matters to you that you can't not do. You're pregnant with it. You have to do it. And when you step into it, all these other arbitrary decisions happen on themselves. You outgrow the problems that you have when you steady yourself, steady your hand toward the qualities in your life that really matter, that you want to create, the relationships that matter, and all that. Your personal health. Yeah. All of the qualities that matter. Not because you're not happy without them. You're a contented creator. Right? Creating is a luxury. It's not a necessity. It's something that you do because you love it enough to see it exist. It's not because you lack contentment. There's plenty of things right now that are going on that are interesting, that are fascinating to you. That too. It's like a 3D image. That's useful. That's part of incorporating it into your creative process. Create your life as art. So that's it. And maybe we can get the earnings to a financial independence where you can be more and you can create more and you can earn more and you can relate more all together so that you become the finest human being that you can possibly be on earth. Who's useful, who's true to themselves, evolving and participating in their own evolution, consciously integrating decisions and actions that you're making at the level of making them, and to live a little more dangerously than you do before, a little more boldly than you do before, by knowing the path, by walking. Thank you.